In this video, we're taking a look at the 1/18 scale 4x4 Adventure Explorer and doing a project update. This will be the second one. We're going to go over the Scout vehicles, 3D modeled body sections, the tire and suspension upgrades, and then we'll take this all for a test run and talk about what is next. So one of the things we talked about in the last video was just the idea of having a sub vehicle, like some kind of smaller vehicle, like a Scout vehicle, that would work with the Explorer. So I decided to go through one of my old bins of, kind of beat up vehicles, and I found this Fang. I think that'll be a perfect kind of air vehicle, like a light kind of helicopter, that can carry one and maybe more kind of, troops and go scouting and flying around and, maybe go on rescue missions. It's a little beat up and not as nice as the Locust I have, but it'll be fun to get that thing working again and flying. I also wanted a scout car, the kind of thing that you see in those movies like Arc 2 where it drives out the back. And originally I was thinking just a motorcycle, but I saw this Can-Am 4x4 1/18 scale vehicle on Amazon. It's around $20 and it looked like it might fit a figure, so I just ordered it and checked it out. It'll take a bit of customizing, but I think that'll be fun as well, trying to make it feel a little futuristic and more military. And then I found these cheap motorcycles. I've had these for a while, that I got in Walmart, so I'll use them too. Another piece of the project I wanted to update since the last part was the tires and the suspension. So a lot of people gave me feedback that the tires felt a little bit small. The stock tires that came with the Unimog, they're a little narrow and they're also like smaller in diameter. So I went on AliExpress and they had these like giant tractor tires that were supposed to work with this Unimog model. So I figured why not? I'd order them, see how they worked. There's a simple adapter that looks like it was 3D printed, and you just kind of put that on. There you can see how much bigger the wheel is, the new wheels. And they kind of have that tractor but more off-road kind of feel. And then the suspension was also, kind of sold by the same company. And what it does is give that true kind of leaf spring action that I was kind of doing with the 3D printed mod I had before. But this is getting you the real full kind of flex of the leaf spring. And it's made of all metal and it screws together and it's really nice. So this way I don't have to worry about, the 3D print breaking or the suspension just kind of not doing what it's supposed to be doing. Now I do end up switching out the wheels or the tires one more time, but I'll get to that later in the video when it comes up. But now let's get to the more interesting stuff. So this is where we start to actually, figure out the details and model the hull of the body of this vehicle. The place I wanted to start was the cockpit. This is the most interesting part and kind of the part that led the rest of the design. It was highly influenced by this Playmobil vehicle I had, but also other kind of like Martian rover kind of vehicles, like from the movie The Martian and things like that. And so modeled this out and then 3D printed it. I had some issues with that, but luckily the guys on G.I. Joe 3D printing helped me out with some different techniques to put in supports and things like that for the windows, and that allowed me to get a nice clean print. And I was really excited with how this came out. It had that kind of science fiction feel. It definitely felt like it stuck to the mock-up I did, the cardboard mock-up, and had those big windows that allowed not only the crew to look out, but for me or other people to look in and see the figures in there, in their seats as I'm going to design them at the controls, kind of driving, or looking like they're driving this actual vehicle. The next part to build out was the center section. So this part is kind of the living quarters, where the bunks are going to be, where there's going to be a table, place to hang out, place to eat, also a big turret. So the biggest kind of, I guess, offensive and defensive weapon will be the turret that kind of rides on the roof of this. And so there you can see me modeling sort of one of the cylinders that goes into the side. That's where the bunks are going to be. And so this has a lot of big shapes in it, and actually a lot of shape or space inside of it. So the volume that's created with all these intersecting shapes actually works out pretty good. So I'll be able to fit these people in there, interacting, the team in there, kind of hanging out, sleeping, eating, and just living their lives. The last section is the back. So this is kind of the smaller section. The idea there is that it's sort of a garage, like a workspace, but also a place to store maybe the motorcycles. And I'm thinking one of the vehicles, so I might need to enlarge it. Actually, I'm really thinking now while I film this that I'm going to enlarge it. but also a sort of airlock door so that the crew can get in and out of the vehicle. The idea is there will be some kind of ladder or, steps or something that will come out of the side door there, a big kind of airlock door. And then the back will be some kind of ramp or fold down kind of back wall. So I'm thinking I might end up, expanding that and also, just making it a more useful kind of space. And then I don't want to forget too the crane. So it's sort of similar to the midsection that has that turret kind of area that this will hold a crane similar to the one that I did on the Wolverine engineering recovery vehicle, and that'll allow the crane to rotate 360 degrees. And here you can see all the pieces together, and it's looking pretty good. All right, so let's take a break to talk about the tires again. So you guys know I really want this chassis to run right. I don't want there to be mechanical problems with the tires rubbing or, not working, or the engines or, motors not working or whatever. So those big giant tires were just kind of rubbing against the side of the chassis. So I want to do something about it. So I ended up 3D printing and designing my own tires that would slip over the original Unimog tires. And I made these kind of futuristic, gave them kind of a hex pattern so they'd look, like something not from today. And, I put a little matte finish on them, and they worked really great. I made them just the right size so they would almost hit the chassis, but not quite, not hit the bumper or anything like that. And once I put these on, it just worked perfectly. It goes a little faster, because I've got bigger diameter tires. They're a little bit heavier, but I don't think that's a problem. If anything, it gives a little more weight lower on the body than all this other weight that's, up on top of the chassis. So I'm pretty happy with these and ready to move on to more design stuff. Next, we'll go over the roofs. So that was an interesting part. I wasn't sure how I was going to solve this problem. I just kind of went forward with the project like, yeah, I'll figure out the roofs when I come to it, and I did. And I wasn't sure what I was going to do. At first, I was thinking I'd use hinges and things like that, but I had a bunch of these like super strong little magnets laying around. I ordered them for a miniatures project, never ended up using them, but had seen other people use magnets to kind of hold the bodies of vehicles onto RC cars, and I thought this would be a great chance to kind of try this out. So, I measured the magnets and modeled them into, or modeled, slots for them into the roof pieces. And so, modeled and printed all the roof pieces, then, glued them in, made sure they would fit. On the body, I just ended up drilling holes because I hadn't planned ahead, like I said. That actually ended up working out really well because that tolerance was a little bit better and more precise. But all I did was, slip the magnet in and then just put a lot of crazy glue on it and just let it sit, and then it worked really well. I was surprised. I've never done this before. I should have done it sooner because they just lock into place really nicely. And, if your model lines up, they just kind of lock it in and hold it. And they're really strong, especially having the combination of 4 of them holding each piece. They're not really going anywhere, but they're not too difficult to pull off, which is really nice. So I definitely want to use this technique in future projects, and maybe in this project, maybe with the turret and the crane and maybe some of the doors. I'm not sure, but I'm really loving this way of securing things. And now for the moment we've all been waiting for. We get to see this new 3D printed chassis working. Of course, my youngest son decides he's going to, try to stomp on it and break it before I get to really use it. But everything was okay. In response, I ran over his army men and crushed his army. So he'll know not to do that next time. But yeah, so I took it outside and I was really happy. So the new leaf springs are on there. They worked well. The tires seemed to work fine. I had no mechanical problems. It just ran really well, which was great. And with that big chassis on there, there's some sway, but honestly, I kind of like that. It gives some motion to the vehicle, but it's not too crazy. And the magnets are really holding the roof parts on there. Like I said, I'm loving this technique, and they held up. I didn't see anything shifting or moving around. Now, of course, this is with nothing in it, so I'm going to be putting a full interior in there. That's going to add a lot of weight, and then, even just the figures, and if I put a vehicle in there. So we'll see how this goes, but I'm really excited with just how it looks. This is such a jump from the cardboard mock-up to the 3D printed. I wasn't really sure like how well that would translate, or how much I'd like the 3D printed kind of look when it finally came out. Of course, now I need to do a lot of finishing because this is in resin print. The layer lines here are really, really strong. So I'm thinking I'm just going to use some techniques like Bondo or something to just go over it, do a bit of sanding and get it flat. And then I'm probably going to resin print all the most of the remaining details and just kind of get all little details in there, especially for the interior. The back area, I think I'm going to redo. I really like that 4x4 Can-Am vehicle, so I kind of really want to make it be able to drive up in the back and have the ramp come down. It might be too big for this. Maybe I'm crazy, but I really want to try it. And I want to get that landing pad on the roof. And, I've got to design the turret and the crane, so lots more still to do. I think we'll wrap it up there. I hope you enjoyed this video. I hope we'll see you in the next one, and we'll have some cool updates to show you in the future. Yo, Joe.